Hey everyone, welcome back to Launch Codes Football. My name is Chris,
And I'm Chelsea.
and today we're going to be talking about this past week's playoffs. Chelsea, how's it going today?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I think we've got some interesting games this week. Now we've got the Super Bowl coming, so really excited to get into that and see what it holds for us.
Indeed.
Yep. So for let's start. I'll start this week. So we'll talk about the Tampa versus Green Bay game. This game was quite interesting. At first, it started out pretty heavily in Tampa's favor. They were, they were scoring almost at will on Green Bay, and at the end of the first half, they threw a bomb of a pass down to score for a big touchdown that gave them the lead with like a second left in the half, and or gave them an even bigger lead. And I think what's interesting, if you look at this game, I mean, I think the Packers were pretty heavy favorites in a lot of ways for this game. They, I mean, they're the number one overall seed in the NFC. They really, they've looked great all season. Even against the Rams, they looked pretty good. They did struggle in the red zone, but overall, like they still put on a pretty good performance. So I think everybody was thinking Green Bay's offense is going to roll over this Tampa's defense, or maybe not roll over, but score fairly easily. But Tampa's offense really played well at the beginning. While like there was one catch where or two passes, and it was really amazing to me. Chris Godwin, he drops an easy one, and then on the very next play, Brady goes to him deep, and he has this huge catch. And I'm just like, wow, Tampa's getting that deep ball going, and they're playing well. The second half was a little bit different, but Tampa overall still controlled a good amount of it. At one point, it looked like a blowout, but I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be, and I had a feeling it was going to be close. That just tends to be how NFL football is. Blowouts are kind of hard to come by, and especially on this stage where the talent is fairly even, it's difficult to see a blowout. So Green Bay comes back into the game, and I know the big decision that a lot of people are talking about this week is when Green Bay was down 8 with just not that much time left in the game, and they still had their 3 timeouts, but they decided to kick the field goal on 4th and goal, down by 8 with little over 2 minutes remaining, not that much time remaining. And this is a kind of a controversial decision. Chelsea says that it's anti Frank Reich, where Frank Reich for the Colts went for it a lot against the Bills, and Matt LaFleur decided to not go for it. He decided to kick it. At first, I was like, well, this isn't a terrible decision. And then my dad kind of pointed out something that makes a lot of sense. He's like, why would you give the ball back to Tom Brady? Like, you don't want to do that with him being up. Yeah, he's 43 at this point, but at some points in this game, he's looked great. Yeah, he threw 3 picks in this game, and in the second half, he had been looking like he was struggling. But by kicking it, you're giving the ball back to the best to ever do it, at least that I've ever seen. And honestly, it just didn't seem like a it doesn't seem like a great decision. Now, part of it could be because they lost. And yes, he had to have known that if he lost this game that he was going to get flamed for this decision. But yeah, I mean overall, it's interesting that he kicked the field goal there. Um, Now, the play before that, Aaron Rodgers actually had a hole to probably run through to get the touchdown, and he decided to throw it. Now, I think he just might have not seen that he had an opening to run because, like, he kind of looks and then he looks to his left. He tries to hit his receiver in the middle of the field, doesn't go through. And Rodgers is as talented as anybody, so it's hard for me to like really argue with his decision making. But I just I don't know. I thought maybe he could have ran in for it, but that's also watching on TV where we can see every single angle. But overall, the decision to not go for it there in the end maybe cost them the game. Now, something people probably aren't talking about as much is not too long before that, Green Bay went for 2 and they didn't get it. And one of the Tampa players barely tipped the ball. Was it still very catchable for Green Bay receiver? Yes, because it hit him right in the chest pretty much, but it was barely tipped, and it was enough to make the pass difficult for the receiver to catch. So, and it ended up in a drop. And so that ended up being a huge play for Tampa by getting that little tip on the ball, causing the receiver to drop it. That play ended up being a huge factor by the end of the game. And so, yeah, now Brady's going to another Super Bowl yet again. You know, they
Boo.
honestly, they're I'm just like, this man, as long as he is alive, he has been stopping dynasties from happening. You know, there'd probably be like a few NFL dynasties or something to happen if it wasn't for him being there.
I mean, he also ended the Patriots dynasty all by himself. So, I mean, he really is a dynasty killer.
He really is. You're just like, up, Brady's here. This is it.
Never mind, bye.
But yeah, Chelsea, what did you think about the decision to kick the field goal there?
Well, I watched that game and everyone saw the hole, right, that Rodgers had to run. The nearest defender was what, maybe 7 yards from him or
Mm-hmm.
something. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's not slow. He's not Peyton Manning who ran like a giraffe, and he's
Mm-hmm.
not Tom Brady who he moves like 3 inches in the pocket and he falls over. That's not who Aaron Rodgers is. He's always been more mobile than those guys. And I saw this post on Instagram, and it was someone who was talking about why Aaron Rodgers didn't run that ball. And Devin White was right. He wasn't right there, but literally you could see his eyes, and he was just he must have been like a QB spy or something for this play, because he was just watching Rodgers. Now, if I'm going to pick between Aaron Rodgers, a 30 some old quarterback who's not the fastest, versus Devin White, who's what, like 23 and ran like he's young and fast and agile.
Mm-hmm.
Could Aaron Rodgers have beaten him out? If he dove, probably. I mean, he probably would have had to dive safe, because it sounds like the kind of play that you'd sustain an injury on. But I see why he didn't. If the reason that he didn't was because he saw Devin White literally staring at him and not even paying attention in the rest of the field, I
Mm-hmm.
get it. But even still, you were like 5 yards away. You could have made it. Like, I don't know if it was him not wanting to get hit, or if he just didn't think that he'd make it. I mean, regardless, but I think that he could have made it. And, the fact that they kicked the field goal, didn't go for it on fourth down. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's not Peyton Manning and he's not Tom Brady, but he's better than a vast majority of guys, and is probably arguably a top 10 quarterback ever, if not top 15. So, I mean, it's not like you have a bum out on the field trying to win the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Colts went for it on fourth down, we had Phillip Rivers. You better believe I'd take Aaron Rodgers over Phillip Rivers any day. So you'd think that if the Colts go for it with Phillip Rivers, that the Packers would go for it with the MVP of the
Mm-hmm.
league this year. I don't know. I'm sure that Aaron Rodgers was livid that LaFleur took him off the field. And I mean, LaFleur, he's a young coach. He's a good coach, but
Mm-hmm.
he's young and he hasn't coached a whole lot of playoffs. And honestly, it was probably just a learning experience for him. If Mike McCarthy was still there, he probably would have kept Aaron Rodgers on the field, just because he had coached with him for so long. They had been together for so many years. But if it was me, I don't know. I would have kept Rodgers out there because he's the MVP. He can run, he can throw, he can, do disguises. He can do everything that you need to in a situation like that. And
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't get it, oh well, the defense was just better. At least you gave him a shot, right? But the fact
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't even give him a shot, it's like, well, you'd think that LaFleur would trust Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get not wanting to give the ball back to Tom Brady, but I mean, it's not like your defense was a bunch of pushovers. It's not like, I mean, they weren't like the best defense, but they were good enough. Except Kevin King. I don't know what was up with him the whole game. He was getting burned like every play. Hopefully he's better next year, because you never like to see guys do bad. But I don't know. If it was me, I'd give Rodgers the shot. And if you don't get it, oh well, at least you tried, you know?
Mm-hmm. You're also,
Like the anti Frank Reich.
mm,
Two
I mean,
examples of that this weekend, actually. But
the thing is, like, if you don't get it there, if you don't get the touchdown there, you give the ball back to Tampa at what, like the 5? Like,
I mean, you're on your own 5. I mean, it's not like you're on your own side of the field. They'd have better field position if you did it kickoff. So I mean, yeah, it's still
exactly.
Tom Brady, but I mean, it's not like he's on your side of the field. Like it's gonna take him a bit to get down the field, you know?
And so, like, yeah, really the decision to kick, it doesn't, like, yes, if you stop them, you're down 5 and now a touchdown wins the game, but you still have to get a touchdown. There's no real, like, there's not really a, I don't know, an
Guarantee.
advantage. Yeah, like you have to get a touchdown no matter what you're doing in this situation. So it just kind of doesn't really make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I see why he didn't kick it. I mean, you're playing Tom Brady. Any points that you can get, right? Take them because you're playing Tom Brady. But at the same time, you're not going to beat Tom Brady with field goals. I mean, how many times have we seen this over the last how many years? Like, that's
hmm
not going to beat Tom Brady no matter who he plays for. You have to
hmm
be aggressive or you're just not going to beat him. And that's been proven time and time and time and time and time and time again. So
Yeah. I mean, if you look, Tampa was the aggressor in this game. Like right before halftime, that big bomb downfield to Miller to get the touchdown. I mean, that was
that was
huge.
bad.
Like, that was pretty bad defense. Yes, it was very bad defense, but like you can't let that up. But I mean, yeah, Tampa was the aggressor in this game and it paid off for them. Now they're going to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there were some missed calls in this game. Like I
Definitely.
texted you during the game, and that play to Scotty Miller with what, like 3 seconds left?
Mm-hmm.
When the Packers had the ball, there was a missed penalty that would have given them a first down that they missed.
Mm-hmm.
So the Packers got, or the Tampa Bay Bucks, they got the ball back and they just happened to score. Like that sucks. Like, regardless of if you like the team or not, like you gotta call the penalties, man. This is the
Mm-hmm.
NFC Championship. How can you go missing penalties? Like, I don't care who wins, but like you can't miss penalties. And it just felt like so Tom Brady, for them to happen to not call an obvious defensive penalty so they happen to score. It's just annoying. Like, regardless of who it is, call the penalty. It was obvious. I don't know how they didn't review it in New York or whatever because
What's a
that was
pass
just stupid. And
interference?
then
They
this,
can't do that.
and then I know it's just, and then they scored the touchdown, and literally every fan in the NFL was like, "We hate you, refs."
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was a bad pass interference because it was definitely a tug. It wasn't like the worst pass interference I've ever
But
seen.
there's been less called than that.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if you're gonna
definitely.
call less than that, you gotta call that. I mean,
In
come
this
on.
game, something you notice, like in this game, they really like they let them play for most of it. At the end of the game, there was a PI that went Tampa Bay's way, which like the announcers were saying that, well, they've been letting them play all game, but then they called this one, which, I mean, yeah, it was PI
Are
at
you
the end
talking
too.
about the undershirt tug where his undershirt was like literally like 2 yards stretched out?
Yeah,
Is that the one you're talking about?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was an obvious penalty.
Yeah,
Like his shirt was literally stretched like 3 feet out. Like that's pretty obviously a penalty. Like if
yeah.
you're gonna call that, like call the other one. I don't think it's a matter of the refs gave Tampa Bay that penalty in the game. No, Kevin King, you shouldn't have grabbed his shirt for a yard. Like it's
I don't
and I
know,
mean, you
man.
gotta you gotta fault the Packers defense too for letting up that Scotty Miller touchdown. I mean, if it was me, I mean, personally, when they did that, I wasn't expecting it at all, right? I just thought they were
Mm-hmm.
gonna take a knee and go into halftime and it be over. But I mean, you're playing Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, who's willing to chuck the ball down the field no matter who his quarterback is. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be prepared. I don't know how they didn't have some kind of game plan in place to be prepared for that. So that was really the defense's fault. They shouldn't have been in that position, but they shouldn't have given up a 50-yard touchdown with 3 seconds left. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
blame to go around.
Yeah, exactly. And right before that, they gave up a 4th and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of like, I was thinking, like, what does Tampa do here? But I mean, they got it going. Like I said, they were the aggressor this game, and it paid off for them.
Yep.
And now they're heading to a Super Bowl and Green Bay's not.
And now people are wondering what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. You see his press conference after the game? He was like, there are a lot of guys' futures on this team that are undecided and we don't know where it's going. And I'm one of them. And the whole NFL was like, what?
Yikes. Oh man. That can be a topic for another day. Will Rodgers be leaving? I'm very interested to
Definitely.
see more about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chelsea, what you got for us next?
Well, considering there was only one other game played last weekend, let's talk about that Bills Chiefs game. So, Bills play it safe and lose to Mahomes and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. The Bills started out this game pretty strong, thanks to a 51-yard field goal and a Dawson Knox touchdown. Thanks to Mecole Hardman's awful, awful muffed punt. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. It literally went right through his hands and they recovered it on what? I think it was the 4-yard line or something. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it probably should have been 7-7 at the end of the first quarter, but because of that horrible, horrible punt, the Chiefs found themselves in a 9-0 hole, which if you watch the Chiefs this year, this didn't necessarily surprise anyone because they tend to start out games not that good, which no one understands because they're the Chiefs, and then they score like 40 in 3 quarters. And it's like, you didn't even score in the first quarter, yet you're scoring 40. Imagine how many points you could score if you actually played well in the first quarter. But Mahomes, he came right back after the touchdown drive that was after the muffed punt, and he threw a redemptive touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman. So you know that Mecole Hardman was just like agonizing over the fact that he muffed this punt. He's one of the younger guys on the team. He's super talented and he messes up and he's just like, oh my gosh, no one's ever going to love me ever again. And Mahomes and Kelsey, they go over to him on the bench and they encourage him and, pull him back up, tell him to keep going. And he gets a touchdown. And I was like, that is not a story of redemption. I don't know what is. And I was happy for the kid. I mean, you love to see it. But
Mm-hmm.
the Chiefs, they scored 2 touchdowns in the second quarter, including the touchdown pass to Hardman. And the Bills get a field goal on like the 20, right? And this is controversial because they played it safe. No one is going to beat the Chiefs playing it safe, right? The Bills had too many field goals in this game to be able to win. It was 21 Chiefs, 12 Bills heading into halftime. And it would have been 13, but Bass, he missed a field goal. So it would have been 13-21. But that's still 1 touchdown, 2 field goals. That's the wrong ratio. You want it the other way around. You'd rather have 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal than 2 field goals and 1 touchdown. But I mean, the third quarter went the Chiefs' way. They scored 10 points to the Bills' 3. Again, Bills went for another field goal. And they also got a penultimate interception off of Josh Allen deep in Chiefs territory in the third quarter, which really swung the game. I mean, once that happened, you knew that the Chiefs weren't going to slow down. And I mean, P.S., Josh Allen, he got bailed out quite a bit in this game. There were a couple of passes that could have been picked, a couple of passes that were just bad. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but he ended up only throwing 1 interception, which is what matters. But the interception was way deep into Chiefs territory. They were driving, and then boom, the drive was over like that. And Bills fans are thinking to themselves, oh, heck, this is not looking good for us. I mean, starting in the fourth quarter, the Bills, they get another, or the Chiefs, sorry. The Chiefs, they get another touchdown. By that point, it's 38-15. It's essentially over, even though the Bills put up 10 in the fourth. So, I mean, the final score was 38-24. I mean, that 10 points that they put up was essentially in garbage time. So, I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect the Bills to win this game. Not going to lie. I didn't expect them to win at all. I mean, if you look at the stats for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is 29 of 38 for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. Darrell Williams, their starting running back, which, side note, not sure why Darrell Williams is starting for the Chiefs when they have Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell, but that's another point. He had 13 rushes for 52 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions for 172 yards, because who's surprised? He's Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce, 13 receptions for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. You want to talk about someone who has had a good season. Let's pause for a second and talk about Mr. Travis Kelce. He finished the regular season with 105 receptions for over 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. He broke the NFL's single season receiving yards record. He was one of just 2 players this season voted in unanimously as first team All-Pro. He was good off the field. And I'm reading off an article for all of these stats. It's by chiefswire.usatoday.com. But according to NFL research, Kelce accomplished the following in this game. He set the record for the most receptions by a player in a conference championship game ever.
Dang.
Yeah. He had 13. He set the record for most single season yards by tight end, both playoffs and regular season. He had 1,400 in the regular season, and he became just one of 3 players to have 7 or more catches in 10 consecutive games. If there's anyone still arguing that Kelce's not the best tight end in the league, I don't even know what to say.
Stop it.
Yeah, stop. Like, you might be a Chiefs hater, but stop. He's obviously the best. But 2 touchdowns in this game, 13 receptions, 118 yards. And then we got Mr. Redemption, right? Mecole Hardman, 2 receptions for 4 yards and a touchdown. And then he had that epic 50-yard end-around rush. Not right after he muffed that punt, but a couple of drives later. And he ran that thing because dude's fast. He ran what, a 4.2? Like, he's almost as fast as Tyreek Hill is, because, of course, the Chiefs would have 2 people who can run 4.2s. But he had that end around, and you could just see that he was feeling it. He was determined to redeem himself in this game after his lost fumble that he lost on the 3-yard line. Sad. For the Chiefs, Rashad Fenton had the Josh Allen interception, the lone interception, returned for 30 yards. And the Chiefs, they had 4 sacks in this game. They had Frank Clark, L'Jarius Sneed, and Tanoa. Goodness, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But they had a lot of sacks in this game. And then, on the other side, you look at the Bills. Josh Allen was 28 of 48, which honestly is really not that good. That's only 50% completion. 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And then he had 7 rushes for 88 yards. He was the leading rusher of the Bills in this game because, as we've talked about, the Bills don't really have a rushing game outside of him, which you would not expect because it's not like Devin Singletary is bad. And it's not like the Bills have a bad offensive line. So you'd think that they'd have a better running game than they do, but they just don't. Cole Beasley, 7 receptions, 88 yards. Stephon Diggs, 6 receptions, 77 yards, no touchdown. No touchdown for Stephon Diggs. Dawson Knox, 6 receptions, 42 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie had a touchdown. Tywan Jones, he's the one who recovered Mecole Hardman's fumble on the 3. And then Jerry Hughes, who, side note, was a Colt at one point. Thanks to Ryan Grigson for trading him away. Had a sack. And Tyler Bass, he had that missed field goal, right? So, this game ultimately just came down to the fact that the Bills couldn't keep up with the offensive pace of the Chiefs. The Chiefs went out there and they scored touchdown and touchdown and touchdown and touchdown. And by the time you blink, they're up, at 28 points. It's like, well, how did this happen? And the Bills, they were able to drive down the field and they were able to score, but they weren't able to score touchdowns. And the fact of the matter is that you're not going to beat the Chiefs scoring field goals. You have to score touchdowns if you're going to beat the Chiefs. That's just the reality of it. And Bills, they lost this game. They're obviously one of the most talented teams in the AFC. And I suspect that they'll be even better next year with, a good draft. I expect them to go after a running back. Maybe they go sign Aaron Jones or Chris Carson in free agency. They get a legitimate running back and, they're they're pretty good. But I don't know if you saw, Chris, but when they were doing the the ceremony, the trophy presentation ceremony after this game, there was one Bills player left on the field that was watching this. Do you know who it is?
Who's that?
Stephon Diggs. He was out on the field alone watching the Chiefs get the AFC Championship trophy. And you better know that he's going to come back with a vengeance next year. Man is unhappy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I didn't expect the Bills to win this game. They played too conservative, in my opinion, kind of like the Packers. You're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady playing conservative. Even if you play aggressive and it doesn't pay off, at least you tried, right? People are going to fault you more if you don't try than if you do, right? So, I mean, they just didn't have the offensive firepower to keep up, and they didn't have the defensive firepower to prevent the Chiefs from scoring touchdowns, which, I mean, you'd think that they'd be able to because they have a really good defense. But that just shows how good Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and Byron Pringle and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and, all of them are. But I mean, side note, I think he's a tackle. Regardless, he's an offensive lineman, but I'm pretty sure that Eric Fisher, their starting offensive lineman, is out for the Super Bowl. I think he tore his Achilles or something. I think they're
Yikes.
without their starting 2 tackles, the Chiefs, which is not a good look
That is
for the
not a great.
Chiefs.
That's especially when you've got Jason Paul Pierre and Shaquille Barrett coming up next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's not a good look for the Chiefs. So they're gonna have to figure out how to get around that because that could really wreak some havoc for them, especially if Patrick Mahomes is still dealing with that toe injury. But yeah, I expected the Chiefs to win this game. The Chiefs were aggressive, the Bills weren't, and that's just how it went. I hope the Chiefs win. I hope Tom Brady loses. I always hope Tom Brady loses. I would rather deal with Patrick Mahomes for the next 15 years than Tom Brady because at least I like Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing, though. Patrick Mahomes may one day hurt your team just like Brady has.
You see, that's true, but he's probably going to hurt your team too. So we're kind of in the same boat.
Look, my team's not in the AFC. So,
Mm.
the only time I'd ever have to worry about him is once every 4 years or in a potential Super Bowl, which if my team ever made it, the probability is that he'll be there too. So,
See, that's true. I will say the Colts have a track record of beating the Chiefs, so they do not scare me as much as some other teams. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes is very good.
and
Aaron
he
Rodgers
wasn't
was
there.
better. No, the second time he was.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was one time where y'all beat him and he
Not
was
the
there.
epic one where Andrew Luck Supermaned over the goal
Yeah,
line.
not
Not
that
that
time.
one. No, that was Alex Smith. But the time after that, he was there. But that epic, what a great picture. I miss Andrew Luck. Please come back. But
Oh,
that
man.
is true. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be around for a
Hmm.
long, long time. And everyone just needs to get used to it. But at least it's not Tom Brady. So you know what? I'll deal with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this game was interesting. You could really tell Josh Allen was frustrated in this game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you could definitely tell when he threw the ball at Okafor's face. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
that
my
was,
gosh. Let's talk about that. Oh man.
yeah.
That fight was completely Josh Allen's fault, by the way. He threw the ball at Okafor's face. Okafor stood over him because he threw the ball at him.
Hmm.
His guard or tackle or whatever pushed him out of the way and pushed him on the ground, and they're all on the ground, fighting or whatever. And people are getting all their penalties and everything, and somehow no one gets ejected because they all offset, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. But that was definitely Josh Allen's fault. Like, I get you're frustrated, dude, and I get you want to win this game, and I get that you're tired of getting sacked in this game because you got sacked 4 times in this game. So I get that you're frustrated, but you cannot do that. You are the leader of your team. You are the starting quarterback of your team, and you are the face of your franchise. You cannot go tossing footballs into other players' faces, hurting your own team. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get being frustrated, and I get that, the guy should not have stood over him. Like, he did that. He got pushed. He deserved to get pushed. A lineman's going to defend his quarterback, right? So he deserved that. But he wouldn't have been standing there if Josh Allen hadn't thrown the ball at him. I mean, Josh Allen is clearly a very, very, very talented quarterback and usually a good character. And I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback for sure. But I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, you're not going to see Aaron Rodgers doing that. You're not going to see Tom Brady doing that. You're not going to see Patrick Mahomes doing that. You can't. All it does is hurt your team. Yeah, it makes you feel good for like 3 whole seconds when you're on the ground. But I mean, it doesn't give you any kind of reward. All it does is hurt you.
I think he shouldn't have done that because it was a pretty dumb move. I mean, yeah, it was just pretty bad, and he's probably going to get fined or whatever later. But here's the thing. I think that they were frustrated they were losing. I think he felt kind of mad. I think felt like he took a late hit by Okafor. Because if you look in that play, Allen's down at one point. Like, ref had blown the whistle, and then Okafor comes in and trucks the two of them. I think he was probably kind of peeved about that. I don't think it was anything.
Feeling valid if that actually, if that's how he interpreted it, then yeah, I mean, you have reason to be mad. It's like, dude, I'm on the ground. Get off me.
Well, he wasn't on the ground, but like he had been wrapped up for long enough to where the refs were already blowing their whistle. Here's the thing. I don't think it was an intentional dirty shot by Okafor, but also like I don't really believe that. There's no reason to say that. I think though, like this game, I mean, yeah, Okafor comes in and hits after the whistle. I mean, it's what happened. And I think Allen got frustrated by that. He throws the football, which was dumb. And then Okafor gets mad about him throwing the football in his face and goes to stand over him because he threw the football in his face. But, if you're a Bills teammate, you don't care about that. You just see that you hit my teammate late for no reason. I'm going to lay you out. And it just kind of caused a mess. Like, honestly, though, they had been fighting all game.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the end after that.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think both sides, there were things that they did. Like, Frank Clark swung. Like, he swung his fist. Like, he kind of threw a punch in the first quarter
and
that was missed.
Get called.
No, nobody saw that. Breland, like, sumo slammed Stephon Diggs.
I remember that. That was definitely not cool.
Bills players fighting in that play. Like there was a lot on, like, both these teams do not like each other. I think we have a new rivalry, which is kind of fun.
Not as good as the Ravens Titans though. That one's better.
Those two teams hate each other, I think.
Oh, I know. And the Ravens and the Titans are so consumed with each other that they're going to forget about the Colts. And the Colts are going to beat them because they're too consumed with each other.
They're consumed by hatred of each other that they will forget about their other opponents is what you're banking on.
See, you have the Texans who are garbage on fire, right? And then you have the Titans who are pretty good. And then you have the Colts who are pretty good. And then you have the Jags who are 1-15, who got their one win off the Colts, which still annoys me to this day, who are probably going to take Trevor Lawrence. I swear, if anyone picks a fight with Trevor Lawrence, I will pick a fight with him because that guy is so nice. I could never have a rivalry against him. He's just too nice.
He'd just be like, I scored, as his hair is flowing in the wind.
He'd be like, oh no, I scored. Take it from here, boys.
Hopefully no one tackles him by his hair, though, because that would be
horrible.
That would hurt.
But I feel like if that happened, he'd get up and be like, good tackle, sir, like Andrew Luck did. Every time Andrew Luck got blown up by anyone because of his horrible offensive line, he'd literally like clap them on the head and be like, good hit, buddy. It's like, buddy, are you okay? I feel like that's what Trevor Lawrence would do. Maybe. Someone would tackle him and he'd get up and he'd be like, good hit, buddy. I will follow you on Instagram after this game.
Or something crazy like that.
Oh my goodness. He's going to be great. I'm so excited for him to be in the league.
Yeah, excited to talk about it. But I think overall this game, you could tell Josh Allen was pretty just frustrated overall. Also,
Yep.
he held on to the ball like way too long at times. Like he would just
Yeah.
not get rid of it, and it's just kind of like, dude, the plays, if the play isn't there, it's not there. There was one
Yeah.
point where like Stephon Diggs, he was forcing it to Stephon Diggs a lot. Like Diggs was being
Mm-hmm.
targeted a lot in the game, but wasn't catching anything. And I mean, I think we do have to briefly mention it. The Chiefs defense played really well. Like
Yeah, they
overall,
did.
that secondary stuck to those receivers. And the Bills have a good set of receivers in my opinion.
They
But
do. One of the best.
man, the Chiefs defense stepped it up last game big time. And if they can play like that against Tampa, you better believe there's a good chance they're winning that game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and maybe Antonio Brown if he comes back and plays in that game. So they're going to have their hands full again.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
kind
it's a
of to what you were saying, I mean, that's what I was saying about Josh Allen getting bailed out. Josh Allen was literally holding onto the ball for like 5, 6, 7 seconds some plays. Like, dude, you're either going to take a 20-yard sack, which he did at one point, or you're going to throw it away. Like, if it's not there, it's not there. You can't hold on to the ball against that pass rush for 6 seconds. You're going to go down every play. Like, your lineman can only hold up for so long.
mhm. It's yet
I
again
think that's
like,
one of his
yeah.
major qualms, like something he's still working through, is holding the ball too long. Because, I mean, he went from 10 touchdowns his first year to 20 his second year to 40 his third year. So obviously he's progressed, but he still holds on to the ball way too long. It reminded me of the Colts game where the Colts were running down the play clock to literally 0 seconds every play. I'm like, dude, just snap the ball, throw the ball, do something.
It's just he his decision making with the ball still is frustrating for Bills fans. He's
Yep,
overall good, but he was thrown
definitely.
a defense that played really well. And I don't think anybody expected them to play as well as they did.
I didn't.
But I mean, overall, like they they showed up, and
Yeah.
I think the Bills just were frustrated. It caused them to fight at the end, and I mean, they had somewhat of a shot at it by the end, but that point, like it was kind of garbage time. But overall, the Bills, I mean, this was a pretty disappointing performance, in my opinion.
And I mean, I think the fact that the Bills went out and kicked field goals, the fact that Josh Allen's holding on to the ball so long, I think that those two things really highlight their need for a running game. That is not Josh Allen. Because if they had a running game, the defense, the secondary would have to respect the run, and then the receivers are probably going to have more chances to get open. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're starting running backs literally getting 30 yards a game, no one's going to respect that. So of course they're going to stick to the receivers all game because they don't have to worry about anything else. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, the Bills go out and pick up someone like Aaron Jones or Chris Carson or even Marlon Mack, who's going to be healthy and is going to be a free agent. They go out and pick any of those guys out, they're going to be legit. I think that that's one of the only things that's holding them back is having a real running game. Because if they do, I mean, guys have to respect that, and people are going to forget about Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis and all the rest of them. I think that is their most glaring weakness for sure,
Mm-hmm.
is having a running game. You have to have one to succeed, especially in the playoffs. You can only get as far as your quarterback is going to take you, and your quarterback's not going to take you there if they don't have help. That's just how it is.
I agree. If they have a running game, if they can put that together at the same time as their offense on through the air has come together, then they can be really dangerous. But right now, I
Yeah,
mean, they can work on the run game, and I think they know what
mhm,
they need to work on. So
I
they still
agree.
have this off season. They still have that Super Bowl window, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I still think that they have the Super Bowl window, but I think it lengthens if they get a legit running back.
We could see it. So we'll see what they do. But anyways, I think it's time for us to transition into our next topic we got here. We've got the next segment, the hot take of the week.
Let's go.
All right. Chelsea, what's our hot take for this week?
All right, well, this one is thanks to our good friend Jack. Thanks for sending this in, buddy. But What we got this week, we have Jimmy Garoppolo will get dumped by the 49ers and end up back with the Patriots. I know.
Yikes.
So let's look
Yikes.
at Jack's reasoning. So he thinks that the front office is not completely sold on him. Garoppolo has a track record of making bad decisions, both on and off the field. On the field includes bad throws, and off the field apparently includes dating a porn star and creating a media story for no good reason. Thanks, Jimmy. He only had one season in which he started at least 6 games in a row. Cutting him would free up $24 million in cap space for the 49ers with only $2.8 million in dead money. And Jimmy Garoppolo has a track record of getting hurt. He's had a serious injury within the first 3 games in 3 of his first 5 seasons as a starter. So it kind of looks like he's an injury-prone guy. Additionally, you have Watson, Stafford, Matt Ryan, and potentially Aaron Rodgers, who are available for trade this offseason, all of whom are clearly better than Garoppolo, which I would agree with at this point. They could also go draft a guy as they have the 12th overall pick and are projected to have 10 picks overall. So they're within striking distance of getting a decent quarterback in the draft. I mean, they could trade up, take a Zach Wilson. They could take a Mac Jones. They could take, a Kyle Trask. Or they could take the really, really talented guy from North Dakota. They could take him too. So they definitely have options. Plus, if you look at the Patriots, they have an obvious connection to Garoppolo as he started his career with them and then got traded once he realized he wasn't going to start, right? At least I think I'm pretty sure he got traded. He wasn't a free agent, I don't think. I'm pretty sure he got traded. But the Patriots, they also have the cap space to easily take on his contract. And Bill Belichick is going to be more eager to acquire Jimmy than any other team will be simply because of their history. And the Patriots are one of the only teams who know for a fact that Jimmy can work with them. And he's a clear upgrade over what they have currently. Sorry, Cam, but he is an upgrade. But I mean, that's his justification. And I think that he has legitimate justification for this hot take. No one else has a connection to Jimmy Garoppolo except the Niners. And the Niners doesn't really feel like they're all that high on him. So what do you think, Chris?
I think that if the Niners weren't high on Jimmy Garoppolo, why did they sign him for so much money?
Maybe they were high on him years ago. I don't know.
Maybe so. Now, here's the thing. Jimmy Garoppolo has obviously shown that you can win with him. Yes, they did lose in the Super Bowl, but I don't think that automatically negates the fact that, or negates the idea that you can't win with him. They were up 10 in that Super Bowl. Was it primarily due to their run game and defense? Yes. But I think you can win just fine with a quarterback who can manage a game. But
Agree.
If the 49ers really are done with Jimmy Garoppolo and want to move on, I can't necessarily blame them. But also, I do believe he was injured for a lot of this year. And
all
so
of this year.
I think they would have been better with him personally.
Oh, yeah.
But this hot take has a lot of justification to it. I do think that if, it's going to be hard for a team to want to trade for his contract. His contract is getting close to being up, so maybe a team is willing to look at it. But if they
Jack,
really
he
are
did
done with him,
say.
what's up?
Continue. Sorry.
What's up? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Jack was talking about if they cut him, they'd save $24 million and they'd only lose about $3 million in cap. So I mean, they could do that. That's an option.
That is
they just
true.
Wouldn't get anything back for him, which sucks.
Yeah, they would get the cap space and not much else. So they'd probably want to trade for him preferably. The question is, are the Patriots willing to take the guy? I mean, yes, they do have a connection to him, and it makes a lot of sense for him to go there because they do need a quarterback. I don't think Cam is going to be re-signed there. But right now, I mean, this hot take, I mean, I respect it. It has a lot of justifiable reasons in here. And I do think the 49ers might be looking towards the future at this point. because I do think their defense is probably still good, but they lost to Forrest Buckner, and that Super Bowl defense, even though a year later, isn't quite the same. So we're just going to have to see where that goes. I think they're going to revamp some things, and a new quarterback is a good way to start. So I could see them drafting a quarterback, maybe making some trades or something like that. But getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, if they do it, they're going to have to get somebody in return quick,
Yeah, I agree.
by this summer. And
Yeah, I
because
mean,
yeah.
you look at the 49ers, people thought they were going to be a really good team this year. They have a really good roster,
Mm-hmm.
but literally half their roster got hurt. Like
Yeah,
season ending injury hurt.
they won the Injury Bowl this year.
They seriously did. They literally lost like 6 or 7 starters in the first 2 weeks of the season. And then, from there, it was just, all downhill. And really, the record didn't
Mm-hmm.
end up being as bad as I thought it was going to be with the amount of people that they lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're looking at the draft, like I was saying earlier, Mr. North Dakota State, Trey Lance, he could be right there at 12.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously Trevor's not going to be, Justin Fields, no. Zach Wilson, probably not. But, the next guy in line is Trey Lance. And he's an intriguing guy. I mean, he doesn't have, 3 years of collegiate experience, but his one full season that he did, he threw 0 interceptions, which I mean, you don't even see in the NFL, let alone in college. You don't even see that in high school, really. So, I mean, that's a pretty impressive feat, regardless of who you're playing. So, I mean, I think that Trey Lance has a lot of potential, and I could see the 49ers swinging on him if they think that he could be a viable replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo. There are also rumors that Deshaun Watson could go to the 49ers with their roster. And if they swing and they trade Jimmy Garoppolo and a couple first round picks to Houston, I mean, the 49ers probably become a Super Bowl contender with Deshaun Watson. Because, I mean, what? They were playing with Nick Mullins this year. Like, no disrespect to Nick Mullins. Like, he's a really good backup, but he's not Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, if they go out and they swing and they get Deshaun Watson, you better believe Garoppolo is gone, probably to the Texans if they end up trading for him.
I could see that. Yeah, if they go for Watson, I've been hearing rumors that they're going to go for him.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they can get him, but
Yeah, that's the issue.
we'll have to see. That whole Deshaun Watson's a very interesting story this year. So
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, overall, I mean, I can see this happening. I think the 49ers, though, like, if they're gonna do this, they better make it quick, because
Yeah, you can't afford to wait.
in my opinion, you do this stuff as early as you can, but you don't want to be rash in your decision either. I think the 49ers, if they are thinking about dumping Garoppolo, they really have to think about what they're doing and whether this decision is a good idea right now. It's not necessarily his fault he was hurt the entire year. And obviously, with him on the field, the 49ers are a better team. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league or that he's going to tear people up for a ton of yards, lots of touchdowns, but I just think he's good enough to win with if you can build other things around him.
I agree. And I mean, if you're a 49ers fan, this offseason has a lot of intrigue, right? Because how many times in a franchise history is a top 5 25-year-old quarterback going to be available, right? You're probably never going to have the opportunity to swing on a guy like this for a long, long time. So, I mean, when the opportunity comes around and he's interested in your team, can you really afford to not at least pursue him? Because, I mean, you put Deshaun Watson on that team and they're a Super Bowl contender. It's just a matter if he fits their offense, if they have the cap space, if they're willing to sign him, if they're willing to keep everyone else. I mean, a lot of factors play into it, obviously. You can't just say a guy should sign there and then it fixes all their problems, because we've learned that that's not how that works. But I'm just saying, I mean, this does not happen that often. If there is a time for the 49ers to go out and absolutely like revolutionize their offense, it's now with Deshaun Watson or Fields or Lance or Zach Wilson or whoever it may be. If Garoppolo is just playing mediocre for your team, I don't really think that you can justify not swinging on someone, because you're not going to get an opportunity to pursue someone like Watson probably ever again. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I've kind of given up hopes of Deshaun Watson being on the Colts because we literally have to give up like 6 first-round picks, and that's probably not going to happen. But
yeah, and they're probably
I hope
not
he
going
goes
to
to the
trade to a
Panthers, though.
division rival.
If he goes to the Panthers, I'm buying his
pretty,
jersey.
That'd be pretty hype. But
Indeed.
overall, good take, Jack. Really appreciate you sending it in.
Yeah, for sure. I liked this one. It has a lot of validity to it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Our last segment here, Super Bowl game pick. We've made it. Chelsea,
We've made it.
I see you smiling. If for those of you listening to the podcast, maybe on Spotify or whatever, you can't see it, but she has a big grin on her face right now.
I do. So why do I have a big grin on my face, Chris?
She won the year. She won at least by one, no matter what happens here, because she's winning 88-86. I said last week that I was going to go for the home run to try and tie it up for this week and then win it in the Super Bowl. I got my Tampa pick right, and then
I picked the Packers.
The Bills failed me miserably.
Come on, Bills.
You know, we could have had an eventful Super Bowl pick, but no, the Bills decided to not let that happen. So,
okay, to be fair, I literally hung on by like one thread. I almost lost it.
It was a big yikes, because when Tampa won, I was like, wait a second, we have a shot here. So,
I know. Man, you played really well though. Next season, we're going to have a whole season. So I mean, it's redemption time.
Exactly.
Chris is going to have like a 60-0 lead, and I'm going to be like, well, thanks, season.
I don't know about that, but you know. All right. But yeah, so we have Chiefs playing the Bucks. Yeah,
it's funny. You put it by the way.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
The first time in NFL history, by the way. Only Tom Brady, I swear.
Well, when you make it like what? This is his like 10th time?
10th, yes.
You're bound to get one of them, right? And I mean, while he was in New England, he was certainly never going to get to play it there. So
that's true.
Man, that's kind of what. Yeah, it's funny. You put Chiefs at Bucks here, and I was like, wait, what? And
then
I was like, oh yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Only Tom Brady this would happen to.
I think this will be a fun Super Bowl, though. I'm kind of excited to see it, and just hopefully nobody gets like no players get like COVID right before the Super Bowl or something.
There's also no Patriots in the Super Bowl, so you know that's good.
Yeah, but there's Gronk and Brady, so there's basically Patriots there.
Don't remind me.
All right, but as far as the game pick, you know, just for the heck of it, not just for the heck of it. I've been thinking on this for a minute. I think I'm going to pick the Bucks to win it because it's hard to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl.
Buck cuz.
Yes. But it's hard to beat him in a Super Bowl. Very few teams have done it. Only two have. The Eagles and the Giants. The Giants twice.
Shout out to the NFC East.
Tom Brady's greatest weakness.
Only the NFC East. What is 2020? What is the season, man?
You know, it would have been something back in the day. You would have had the most hated Super Bowl of all time to have, like, what was it? The Patriots versus the Cowboys. Like, I think if we would have had that back years ago, it won't happen now, but if we would have had that, man, everyone would have been like, I hate this Super Bowl.
People would have boycotted watching the Super Bowl. Be like, I am not watching Jerry Jones versus Tom Brady. I'm just not.
Exactly. But I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think you can't count them out. I think they have a really good offense. It's clicking, it's working. And their defense seems to be good enough in the red zone to keep people from scoring a lot of touchdowns. I mean, they held Green Bay's offense to not that many touchdowns. They didn't play well between the 20s a lot of times, but in the red zone, they played well. And I think that's probably the most important place to play defense. So I'm going to give them the edge on this one, even though, yes, I still think the Chiefs will probably win this, but I'm going to pick the Bucks.
So I'm going to pick the Chiefs, not only because I don't like Tom Brady. Chiefs are the hottest team in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes and that offense has been essentially unstoppable unless they've played down to their opponent, and you better believe they're not going to play down to their opponent in the Super Bowl. I think that overall that the Bucks have a better defense than the Chiefs do, but I think that the Chiefs defense shows up when it matters, which is what's important. I think that this game's going to be very high scoring. I think that both defenses are going to be very, very tired after this game. But, I think it's going to come down to whoever gets more field goals because Tom Brady can drop 50 if it feels like it, and Patrick Mahomes can drop like 40 in one half. So this is going to be a high scoring game, in my opinion. But I don't know if the Bucks secondary has anyone fast enough who can keep up with Tyreek Hill because I don't know their secondary that well. And I'm not sure if they do. If they do, let me know so I'm informed because I just am not sure right now. But I mean, you have to have someone on Tyreek Hill and they have to be fast. If you don't have someone who's fast on Tyreek Hill, he's going to burn you. If you do have someone who's fast on Tyreek Hill, you double team Tyreek Hill, but then you leave Kelsey wide open in the middle of the field on single coverage. Or if you double team Kelsey, you'll leave Tyreek Hill wide open on the sideline. So it's like, how do you beat it? I think the only way that the Chiefs lose this game is if they shoot themselves in the foot. That's what I've been saying all year. The only team that's going to beat the Chiefs is the Chiefs. And I think that that still stands. I think if any team in the league has the best opportunity to beat the Chiefs, it is the Bucks. The Chiefs already beat the Bucks once. They beat them in the regular season.
Not by much.
Not by much. So I think it'll be a close game. I could see a very similar game happening again, but I think it's going to come down to who can run the ball better, which honestly is probably going to be the Bucks because they have an incredible running back room. And not that the Chiefs don't, but the Bucks, theirs is better. Yeah, I think that both of their receiving rooms are about as close as you can get. And yeah, I think it's going to come down to the loss of those offensive linemen for the Chiefs. If the Bucks D-line can harass Patrick Mahomes all game and make him run, I think eventually there's going to come a time where he's going to make a mistake. But I think it'll only be self-inflicted injuries. Like if Patrick Mahomes throws an interception against Tom Brady, they're probably going to lose, right? Because it's Tom Brady. Or if he gets sacked 4 times, they're probably going to lose. But I don't know. I think that offense is too potent, and I think it's going to come down to whoever can prevent touchdowns the best. Which, knowing both of these offenses, it will probably only be one touchdown that they will prevent because they're both so high-powered. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs because I don't want to see Tom Brady win again. But mostly because I think that they're better.
That's fair. No, the Chiefs are probably the best team here. But like I said, it's hard to count Brady out. And
Yeah,
he's
the
been here
Bucks have
so many
Brady.
times. He's been here so many times. They know how to get this going. So, and
It's going to
I
be a
think,
fun Super Bowl.
is this like the one time Brady has been the underdog? Maybe in a Super Bowl, like maybe twice, maybe his first one ever, he might have been the underdog, but like
I think so.
I mean, because I can't think of a time where I feel like a team has been much better. I mean, maybe like against the Seahawks, the Seahawks had the Legion of Boom. Um, I don't know if the Patriots were underdogs then, and against the Giants, they certainly were not underdogs either
Yeah.
time. So
They
I don't
weren't
know.
underdogs against the Eagles either.
No.
Definitely not against the Falcons. Rest in peace, Falcons.
Yep. Still haven't recovered from till this day.
I'm not
Rip.
even a Falcons fan, and I still haven't recovered from that. That's when you know.
Certainly not against the Rams. Yeah, I mean, really, just seems like this is like one of the maybe 2 times Brady's been the underdog in the Super Bowl. So I think overall this is going to be a really fun one. It's going to be an exciting Super Bowl. We're going to probably cover more of it next week when we have more headlines and more information about what's going on.
Yep.
And I'm super excited for it. It'll be
Me
the
too.
last episode before the season ends.
Yep, we got that one next week, and then our recap of the Super Bowl, and then we're into the off season. We'll be talking about everything off season.
I'm excited. But Chelsea, do you want to do our outro today?
For sure. Hey, thanks for listening, guys. Tune back in next Wednesday for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at _LC_football_, Instagram at LaunchCodesFootball, and on Facebook and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.